Merrimack Street is applying for fuel storage license. Do we have anyone for that? Yeah.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair.
Good evening. Could you just state your name and position on, for this agenda?
Good evening. My name is Rick Freiberg from TEC. I'm the civil engineer for the project. We're here tonight in front of the licensing board requesting a license to store flammables and combustibles, Class 1 liquids. And it's in support and in conjunction with a proposed gas station, convenience store, and car wash proposed at 423 Merrimack Street here in Lawrence. What you see here is a rendering of it. This parcel, if you're not familiar with the street address location, if you're headed towards 495 on Merrimack Street, it's the last property on the right that was a parking lot. That's what's proposed to go here. Under this request, we're seeking licensing for a 30,000 gallon regular gasoline gas tank, and these are the buttons will sound like the 3 buttons you press when you load up with gas, but 30,000 gallon for regular gasoline, 10,000 gallon for super gasoline, and 10,000 gallon for diesel. The project has been reviewed and approved by the Lawrence Planning Board, the Conservation Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals. We've also had 2 wraparound meetings with city staff to go through the details of the project. And I believe as of today, we got all the requisite sign-offs on our licensing application through the online portal. I look forward to answering any questions. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to start with Lieutenant Cirillo, and we'll work our way around just in case there's any questions that one of us might not think of. So, Lieutenant Cirillo?
Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Just a couple of questions. Hours of operation?
Yeah, so for this, we're proposing 24 hours.
And the car wash, what would be the hours of operation for that? Same thing?
I believe the same, yep. Mm-hmm.
So again, my only comment would be, I know there's several gas stations in the city that operate now. I know we've been trying to limit the number of businesses open at that hour, but I think it would fall into the same class of as a Cumberland Farms or something along those lines. So again, at this time, I don't have any further questions.
Okay, thank you. Captain Delaney from the Fire Department?
All their paperwork is in order with the fire department.
Thank you. Director Amano?
Thank you. No questions. This project we've been working with for quite a long time. We're in full support of it.
Commissioner Darwin?
So this land is owned by 423 Merrimack Street LLC, which is an entity of the Livoli companies. The business owner, though, that's going to be leasing the property is Energy North, or Hafner's, as is known locally. Yep.
So my question is, wasn't that location that the previous item that was supposed to put a 2-level parking garage?
I don't recall.
I may be able to speak to that a little bit if that's okay. If it's okay, yeah. Yeah, so on this project, we have an approved master plan that we went through a process with both the zoning board and the planning board, and it proposed new development across about 50 acres in this area. A portion of this site, as you get closer to 421 Merrimack Street, at one point in one of the conceptual renderings, we did show a parking garage in the back. That was before we had interest from Hafner's, though, as a specific brand. By working closely with Hafner's and Energy North, they wanted to expand it to be a convenience store, a gas station, and also a car wash. It's the nearest parcel to 495, so it seemed like that made a lot of sense in terms of keeping all the vehicular amenities very close to the highway. But I think that's probably what you might remember is at one point as part of the master plan, there was a proposed parking structure at the back of the site.
Yes, and my recollection, and I'd like to take it offline and review it, is that he was granted some items based on the contingency that that parking garage was built on Merrimack Street.
I can speak to that too directly. Yes, please. So on this parcel, that's not the case. There is a very large parking structure that's actually just recently completed. That structure was required for occupancy of a number of permits related to the wood mill. which are like 210, 250, and 280 Merrimack Street. So just a little further down the street. There's no restrictions on this property or development on this property related to parking. And again, we went through the planning board special permit process already for the project, as well as zoning board and Concom, just to make sure there were no issues, and we've been approved by all boards.
Okay, great, thank you. I have another question. The car wash, is it a self-operated car wash, or one like Hafner's on South Broadway where there's an attendant and you pay and go through?
It's an excellent question. I believe this one is a self-operated car wash. And again, the car wash use is not specific to the request here tonight, but that's my understanding of the car wash.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
I have one question, actually probably related to a couple of things. EPA already cleared the lot and everything through the fire department, all the certificates are in order and all that, as far as testing of the grounds and everything?
Yes.
Okay, that was the only question I had on that. And this is a 24-hour operation, both car wash and gas station, as I understand, 7 days a week.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to grant the license for the storage tanks for 423 Merrimack Street.
I'd like a amendment to that motion. I'd like to amend the motion, make a motion to grant the license with the car wash not being able to operate after. What have we been doing? Car washes, I thought we shut down at, no, even the gas station. Wait a minute.
We have Cumberland Farms that stays open.
Yeah, Cumberland Farms is open 24 hours a day for gas. Speedway,
You go to Cumberland on South Broadway, after midnight, all the pumps are shut down for maintenance.
okay. But there are certain gas stations in the city that stay open 24 hours a day. I know the one next to the station, Speed, the old Hess, that's open 24 hours a day. And I believe also the Mobile across from Friendly's is open 24 hours. So there are some 24-hour operations.
What about the car washes?
The self-contained car washes, I think Hafen is now shuts those down at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I think that they'll probably follow suit
Okay.
to shut
Because I
down
just
at
think
11
of some
o'clock.
of the issues we've had on,
Yeah, and they've been very cooperative with those
those
issues
being open
and
late.
closing the self-contained units. So I don't foresee any problems with that.
okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second that. A motion to approve for the storage tanks for 423 Merrimack Street. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Roll call, Commissioner Darwin,
yes,
and the chair votes yes as well. Good luck with that, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Okay, number 6 on the agenda, Bacao Restaurant located at 102-106 Winthrop Ave is applying for an all-alcohol beverage license. If we have anyone up from Bacao, if you can just come to the podium, state your name for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Darwin, city officials. Nice to see everybody. Brian Corrigan on behalf of the applicant, Bocao Latin Restaurant Corporation. With me tonight is the president of the corporation, Patria Arias, and one of the managers, Junior Munoz. We were before the zoning board back in September on this matter. We received a unanimous vote for a special permit to operate a liquor establishment at 102-106 Winthrop Ave. This is located at the corner of Winthrop Ave and North Parish Road over near the stadium. This is the establishment is a small 49-seat family-style Latin restaurant, and they've been in business since April of this year, operating without liquor and, doing well, but obviously this is going to be a big step for them to enhance their business. So we're asking the board to approve the application so this matter can go down to the Abcc.
Thank you, Attorney Garrigan. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna start with Lieutenant Cirillo and work our way around. So Lieutenant Cirillo?
The only question I have is hours of operation?
Yes, 11 to 11, 7 days a week, which also comports with the special permit. Standard conditions on the special permit, no alcohol service after 11, no service, at a bar, service only to the dining patrons. So all the standard conditions that you see coming through the zoning board, but 11 o'clock is the close time.
And there's no patio there, right? Correct?
Did you do outdoor seating a little bit this year? Yeah, a little bit of sidewalk seating in the nice weather, but otherwise no permanent patio like in the back or anything like that. Just some outdoor.
Will they continue to do the outside seating with the alcohol over there?
They hope so.
Okay, the only thing that my concern would be the situation with the high school being so close.
I see.
I would say that maybe service out on the patio only after the hours of operation of school. Maybe a
Okay.
condition on that, if that wouldn't be an issue.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So no alcohol service during school hours. Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds very reasonable.
Okay, no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Captain Delaney?
The fire department has performed inspections here, and they're in good standing with us.
Thank you. Director Amano?
Inspectional services was part of the conversations at the zoning board. We have no further questions. We're in support of the project.
Commissioner Darwin?
I just have a question. Attorney Corrigan, this says the hours are till 1 AM. Is that a typo on our end?
Is that on the ABCC application?
Yeah, it's on the citizen serve.
Okay. Yeah, no,
It says 11 to 1 AM, but it doesn't give me the days,
Yeah.
so.
That may have been completed prior to the zoning board.
zoning,
So it's can't be after 11 o'clock per the special permit, and we're going on record today, so we expect, the license will say till 11 o'clock only.
Okay, 11 to 11, 7 days. Fine, great, thank you. No further questions?
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. Were the abutters notified of a potential for a liquor license?
Yes, fully notified, both through the zoning process and through this process.
And Eagle Tribune as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions, so I'll entertain a motion to grant a liquor license to Bocao Restaurant.
So, motion to approve
A
those
second.
hours, 11 to 11.
Okay, actually, I'd rather see, if we can put on there
And also,
outdoor service.
no alcohol to be served outdoors until
During school hours.
during school hours? Or are you saying none?
No, school hours.
Okay. No alcohol outside on the patio during school hours.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. So the motion is grant the liquor license 7 days a week, 11 to 11, no outside service during school hours. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Roll call, Commissioner Darwin?
yes?
And the chair votes yes as well. All right, good luck with that, sir, and ma'am.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
Okay, number 7 on the agenda, Taqueria La Unica, located at 480 Havel Street, which is applying for a common vic license. If you can just state your name for the record, please?
Yes, hello, my name is Maria Gonzalez.
All right, I'm just gonna go the same thing, I'm gonna go down the line, if anybody has any questions for you about your business and that, if we can answer them. Lieutenant Cirillo?
Just confirm the hours of operation?
Sunday to Thursday from 9 to 9, and then, which is Friday and Saturday from 9 to 10.
No further questions?
Was that 9 to 9, did you say?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
9 to 9, and then Friday, Saturday, 9 to 10?
Yes.
Captain Delaney?
They're in good standing with the fire department. We're in support.
Director Amano?
No questions from inspectional services.
Commissioner Darwin?
No questions?
The chair doesn't have any questions at this time, so I'll entertain a motion to grant the common vic to Taqueria La Única at 480 Havel Street.
So moved.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Roll call, Commissioner Darwin,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Good luck with your business, ma'am.
Thank you, have a good night.
Okay, number 8 on the agenda. Catra Chopping Grill and Restaurant, located at 7274 Jackson Street, is applying for a common vic license. If you can just step up to the podium and state your name. Can you say your name, please?
My name is Brenda Barraza.
Okay, I'm gonna start over here, and Lieutenant Cirillo, if you have any questions.
No, just confirming the hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., is that correct?
7 to 9. 7 to 9. Yeah.
7 days a week?
Yeah.
Okay, no further questions.
Captain Delaney?
The fire department has been working with the applicants. I believe the only thing left for them to do is a puff test on the ANSO system, and I believe they're aware of that.
Okay, thank you. Director Amano?
No questions from Inspectional Services.
Commissioner Darwin?
No questions.
And the chair does not have any questions as well. So I'll entertain a motion to grant a common vic license with the condition that they have their answer system tested prior to opening. And this will be for Catra, I'm not sure, Catra Chopping Grill, located 7274 Jackson Street.
So moved.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Roll call. Commissioner Darwin?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Good luck with your business.
Thank you.
Okay, number 9, the Party Connection, located at 51 Railroad Street, is applying for a one-day all-alcohol beverage license to be held at the Greater Lawrence Boathouse. Can you just state your name for the record, please?
Mark Duke, New Oregon.
Okay, Mark, I'm going to start with Lieutenant Cirillo,
No questions.
Captain Delaney,
What is the date of the function?
This Saturday.
No questions.
Director Amano.
What is the function?
Birthday party at the boathouse.
Thank you. No other questions.
Commissioner Darwin.
No questions.
And the chair does not have any questions at this time, so I'll entertain a motion to grant a one-day liquor license to Party Connection to be held at the Boathouse. All in favor?
Aye. Oh, motion.
Oh,
Oh, so
I'll
moved.
entertain a motion. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Roll call, Commissioner Darwin,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes as well. Good luck with that, thank you. Number 10 on the agenda, Belmont Data Incorporated, DBA Blue Lounge, located at 2 Amesbury Street, is applying for a change of manager applicant. Can you just state your name for the record, please?
Yes, Algeni Cepeda.
Okay, Mr. Zapata, I'm gonna start the same thing. Lieutenant Cirillo,
No questions at this time.
Captain Delaney,
No questions.
Director Amano,
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Darwin.
Yes, have you filed the change of manager with ABCC?
Yeah.
You have.
Okay, we have no questions at this time, so I'll entertain a motion to change management at Blue Lounge, 2 Amesbury Street.
So moved.
Seconded. Roll call, Commissioner Darwin. No. All in favor?
Yes. Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Roll call, Commissioner Darwin.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes as well. Good luck with that, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, number 11, Gallant Auto Sales located at 235 Winthrop Ave, which is applying for Class 2 used retail motor vehicle license. We have someone up here from Gallant Auto Sales. State your name, please.
James Gallen.
Okay, Mr. Gallant, we're gonna do the same thing, starting with Lieutenant Cirillo.
So there's 10, you're gonna store 10 vehicles, or you're gonna sell 10 vehicles there?
Yes, 10 used vehicles.
Okay, so you know that you can only have 10 there.
Yes,
They
I
have to
know.
be used vehicles, they can't be junk,
Yes, I know.
okay? And you have to have them properly stored, and no excess vehicles there, okay?
That's correct.
And your hours of operation need to be posted,
9 to 5.
okay?
Monday to
And you have to
Saturday.
have a working telephone number, everything all in order?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I have no further questions at this time.
Captain Delaney?
The fire department performed an inspection on the property, and they're in good standing with us.
Director Romano?
No questions from inspectional services.
Commissioner Darwin?
My only question is there room on the lot for the 10 vehicles plus employees and potential
Yes.
customers coming to park?
Yes.
Okay.
You realize that the 10 vehicles include the employee vehicles, right?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Just to follow up on the hours, how many days a week are you gonna be open?
9 to 5, Monday to Saturday. Yes.
Okay, at this time, I have no further questions. I'll entertain a motion to grant a Class 2 motor vehicle license to Gallant Auto Sales at 235 Winthrop Ave.
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call. Commissioner Darwin?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes as well. Good luck with that, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll go back up to number 1, notice of hearing for Tehal Liquors, DBA Mount Vernon Liquors, located at 423 South Broadway, which is requesting for a reconsideration for decision and penalty imposed by the board revoking indefinite license.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Darwin. My name is John Aida, McDermott Quilty Miller, located at 28 State Street in Boston. Joining me is Kinjal Patel. We are here on a request for reconsideration of the board's former decision, which was dated June 23rd of this year. As the board is familiar, at that time, following testimony from Lieutenant Cerullo, the board decided to vote to indefinitely revoke the license held by Tehal Liquors, Inc., doing business as Mount Vernon Liquors. Our office, on behalf of the licensee, has appealed that decision to the Abcc. That matter is still pending. Obviously, in consideration of that and in light of that, we are requesting that this matter be reconsidered, that essentially that the decision be reconsidered, and that the penalty imposed be reconsidered. I'm not going to get back into the issue at hand in terms of the, rehearing the matter or discussing the facts of that case, but generally just to discuss what, if anything, can be done as a resolution. Obviously, this board heard the testimony and lost faith in my client's ability to, effectively run and operate that business. She understands that. But something that the board should consider as well and to take into consideration is for 10 years prior to that, she had operated this business with her husband, and they had operated very successfully in the city. They had no prior violations, no issues whatsoever. They had no issues with tobacco sales or any other age-restricted sales. And for that, it's not something that the board should necessarily dismiss. And we feel strongly that the decision in revoking the license was severe. Mrs. Patel has, as I stated, has had the business for approximately 10 years. And in that time, it was a substantial investment of money. Since that time, the business has been closed for over 4 months, approximately 140 days since June 23rd. In that time, obviously, she's lost not only the expected revenue, day-to-day revenue, but since that time, she's also experienced loss of inventory. Her staff, employees have lost, obviously, that income.
And the other thing is she lost the initial cost to purchase the business and to run that enterprise. So it has been a big impact on herself and her family. And what we're looking to do is we're suggesting that if the board were to reconsider, to indefinitely suspend this license. And by doing so, it would allow Mrs. Patel the ability to sell that business and try to recoup some of the losses that she has suffered and some of the losses that her family has suffered as a result. Again, it was the actions over the course of a weekend that resulted in her losing 10 years of this business that she's built so hard has worked so hard to build up. And so by making the decision to indefinitely suspend, she realizes she's not going to reopen. She realizes she's not going to have the ability to benefit from the fruits of the labors for a long period of time. This was something that her family and herself had invested into, and we're planning on running this for many, many years to come. So she's not going to have that ability to do so. So what we're looking to do is, if the board were to grant the indefinite suspension, we acknowledge that any new owner, first of all, would have to be an arm's length transaction, so that there would be a bona fide purchaser, a third party that came in to purchase this, and they would have to come in front of the board. They'd have to be vetted by you, by the Abcc, so they would have to be a qualified applicant, and therefore Mrs. Patel would have no involvement at that point. But it does allow her the ability to recoup, as I stated, some of those losses she suffered financially. And I'd venture to say that the fact that she's already been closed for 140 days, I think is a more than fair punishment based on the events that happened. And again, it was egregious events. It was events that occurred over the course of 3 days, and it should not be reflective on the entire, the totality of the circumstances of the entire operation and ownership that Mrs. Patel has had. So again, we're asking that the board take that into consideration, reconsider their vote from June 23rd, and allow, again, the license would stay within the city, would not be issued or provided to Mrs. Patel. It would be subject to a approved transfer from this board to allow her the ability to sell off that business.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm gonna go through the board, the full board, in case anyone has any questions to follow up on that. So, Lieutenant Cirillo?
The only thing I would add to that, Commissioners, is there is a pending appeal at the ABCC that has not been heard yet. And there's also a hearing on the violations that weren't brought before this board. So there was 8 violations that were brought before this board. The remainder of the 60, so do the math, but the remainder, there was 61 incidents, 8 were brought before this board. The remainder still needs to be brought before the ABCC and see what their decision is. So again, I think this board, to overturn anything or to do anything would be premature till that played out at the ABCC. That would be my only comment.
Okay, thank you. Captain Delaney?
No questions.
Director Amano?
Just curious, was this asked as a condition to drop the appeal before the ABCC?
Yes, I should have mentioned that. So obviously, we have certain rights that we believe to be enforced as per the appeal. As a condition, we would agree to withdraw our appeal in lieu of that resolution with the city. So essentially, if we feel strongly that we have a case in front of the ABCC where they may decide to either remand it back to this board with recommendations, either that the penalty is imposed differently or that that there's no revocation. So if that were to be the case, if that were, and the board was inclined to follow the recommendation of the ABCC, Mrs. Patel would have potentially the ability to open up again and be reissued the license and open up as a business owner. What we're proposing this evening as a solution to that, because again, we realize the board has no faith in Mrs. Patel's ownership or management at this point, but we'd be willing to withdraw the appeal and those rights under that appeal to come to some resolution with the city.
Okay, thank you. Director Marna, any follow-up?
No follow-up, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Darwin?
No questions.
What is the date of the scheduled hearing in front of the
So,
ABCC?
yep, it has been continued, but at this point it's scheduled for December 1st. I would venture to say there's a chance it would be continued again. There are still some discovery documents we are awaiting from the city.
Okay, you had mentioned how severe the punishment was, but personally, I felt it was more severe to have 61 kids be served over a weekend period. So my suggestion to the board would be that we proceed with the ABCC hearing scheduled for December 1st, and we'll see what they come up with, what their hearing comes back with, and then we'll abide by whatever they come down with. That's my recommendation to the board.
I agree with the chair. I think we've gone through this and took everything into consideration. It's before ABCC, and as Lieutenant Cirillo said, other aspects are as well. So I think we need to wait and play that out to allow them to do their due diligence and come up with their decision.
So at this time, we're gonna stay with our initial vote of revoking the license, and we're just gonna let it go to the ABCC from this board's standpoint.
Okay. And just to that matter, I'll follow up with Assistant City Solicitor. We do have outstanding discovery requests from the city, so we will pursue those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, second on the agenda, notice of hearing for Divine Motors, located at 519 South Union Street, requesting a hearing for revocation of his license to sell cars.
Good evening. Is it okay to take this off to speak, sir?
Yes, you can take that off.
Thank you. Daniel Hutchinson for Louis Casabante and Divine Motors. Thank you for scheduling this hearing. As you are well aware, Mr. Casabante wasn't here for the last hearing. He did get the notice a day late. And the main purpose of him reinstating his license, essentially, and I'll be quite frank with the board, he's looking to get his revocation taken, removed, get reinstated, and leave the city. He does have a facility in New Hampshire, but if he maintains the revocation status out of Lawrence, he can never open up a dealership in Massachusetts ever again. I think he has future plans nowhere near Lawrence. I believe he's somewhere near Burlington or Middlesex where he lives. There was a question that was raised regarding a title, and I can tell the board that the person that made the complaint, and it was a mileage issue, Mr. Casabante bought the car at auction with a TMU title. It was identified as TMU on the paperwork. That being said, he got paperwork from the customer that said that the car did not have 84,131 miles on it, but 184,000 miles on it. So when he realized that the misunderstanding, he immediately refunded the money to the customer and took the car back. There was some talk about that. The other issue was he had an employee that I think didn't do the right thing by this particular customer, and they had to reach out to Mr. Casabante. The facility that he has in Pelham, it's probably a 25, 30-minute ride, but he's been running back and forth. He does acknowledge that there were some complaints, and I actually went to the Lawrence Police Department when I was retained by Mr. Casabante to get any information on calls for service. It looks like some more disturbances unrelated to Mr. Casabante or Divine Motors. The title issue was incident number 210-20660, which the matter I just referenced. There was another complaint for cars parked on the sidewalk that relates to Mr. Casabante in the business, as well as a motor vehicle blocking, it looks like blocking the entrance, and that was report number 190-23120. So I have with me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other incidents that were either minor in nature or unrelated. And I can provide these to the board if you'd like to look at them as I pass them around. On September 28th, 2020, there was some sort of a disturbance, but it was somebody who was trespassed off the property. So it wasn't related to Mr. Casamonte's behavior as a businessman. On January 9th, 2021, there was a motor vehicle stop in front of the dealership, so that popped up under him as well. And that one's 21001455. And then I have an additional one here in May of this year that just says business check, and it just says something closed on it, but there's no other identifications of what the issue was. On July 14th of 21, incident number 21036185, the indication on here is there was a follow-up regarding the dealership operation. And I think that pertains to the employee that Mr. Casabonte had. That employee-employee relationship has since passed. He realized that the gentleman he had there wasn't really doing the right thing by people. And I think if you check in Pelham, I don't think you're going to find any complaints with the way he's operating his business. There's another one that was entered on July 16th. All it says is violation of city ordinances, but it gives no reference. I'll give you the number. It's 21036627. It doesn't say what it was or if it was any admonishment or anything. July 17th was in relation to an ex-tenant that was trespassing the property, not in relation to Mr. Casabonte. And then on October 1st, all it says is self-initiated, the incident number, and it was 21052154. And I believe that was just a check by the city. And then the last one that I have here, it's incident number 21005164. It looks like it was October 15th. And what that was is that Mr. Casabonte bought a couple of cars at auction and had a towing company from, I believe, Londonderry bring the cars down, and they left the keys in the cars. And I believe one of the cars was stolen. You know, if they drop the cars late at night, you know, I'm familiar with how tow operations work, especially when dealing with car dealers, because they're moving cars at a low cost, so they want to do it in their off-peak hours. So, you know, the tow company's going to drop a car, leave the keys in it in the tailpipe, a gas door, or some other tricky place where they don't think someone's going to find it. Well, it's obviously a hazard that if some child come across it and found it, we'd have a problem. But Mr. Casabonte didn't give any direction as to how to do it. He expected those cars during the day. So he'd ask that you reinstate him. He's not going to start his operation again in Lawrence. He has no plans to start selling cars in Massachusetts for quite a long time until he finishes building up the business he has in Pelham.
Okay, thank you for that, sir. I'm going to start with Lieutenant Cirillo.
Good evening, sir. So again, you referenced several numbers and incidents. Again, I don't want to get into all of the matters, but on September 8, 2021, the board voted to suspend the license for a period of 60 days. That encompassed incidents on 4/30, on July 12th, July 13th, July 15th of 2021. Those incidents all involved several matters, like you referenced. One had to do with a title of a black Toyota Camry that was sold for $4,000. There was some issues with the title going back to the RMV where it couldn't be registered. That was mediated through the owner, the police, and the victim. On July 12th, like we stated, there was vehicles on the sidewalk, parked on public ways, unregistered, uninsured. Officer Cano went over there. At that time, same thing. He also met with victims pertaining to vehicles that were bought with problems with the title. There was no working business number, so people could call and rectify the problems. And then there was also a matter with the hours not being posted. Again, on July 15th, you said the 16th, Officer Cano again was over there with Trooper Lawrence from the Massachusetts State Police. He deals with Class 2 and 3 licenses. At that time, several violations that they spoke to the ownership about were not fixed. Vehicles were still parked on the sidewalk, off the lot, and out in the public way, unregistered. Also, there was a problem with the number. That was not fixed. The hours of operation weren't posted. At that time, he was cited for violations 90-1, not operating as a dealer as defined by law, 90-5, misuse of dealer plates, Chapter 140, 62, failure to maintain owner used car record book, and along with failure to notify the RMV of a change of ownership. For all those reasons, the board voted to take that matter and suspend them for 60 days. Part of that condition was that they did not sell another vehicle. On September 29th, at this public meeting, the chairman was addressed or approached by a victim who stated that they had bought a vehicle on September 24th, which was after the 28th. The vehicle had issues. I think the victim's name off the top of my head was Mr. Mato. He bought a vehicle with a title that was forwarded to him for a Honda Accord, a 2010 Honda Accord sedan. On the title, which was given to the victim, 84,131 miles was on the vehicle. When the vehicle went to, the owner went to the registry to register the vehicle, the title from the registry, the odometer reader read 184,131. So once again, there was another discrepancy with this sale of vehicles, and they sold vehicles after the board told them not to sell them from that location. And again, it was sold with a title that was either fraudulent or uttered or something along those lines. At that time, Officer Cano again did a re-inspection of the premises, which would have been October 1st, I believe. At that time, he found 2 vehicles on the lot which were unsecured and had keys in it. There was additional vehicles on the lot as well. He did not make contact with anybody. Nobody was returning the phone calls. At that time, that was brought back before the board, and that's when the board decided to revoke the license of Divine Voters. And again, that's pretty much sums up the statement of the facts for that issue.
Mr. Chairman, may I just respond to one quick thing?
Go ahead.
I do have the title you're referencing. I have the paperwork here. It's marked TMU on it. It was nothing that Mr. Casabante did. And I brought the photocopies of the titles.
I have the same.
So you see that it's marked TMU, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So again, there was definitely an issue with it because I know what you're saying, but the registry would not issue.
That's correct, and he refunded the money to the customer immediately.
Again, it's definitely a problem. Either it's a problem with explanation by the management to the people that they're selling the vehicle to, but again, when they do sell those vehicles, even if it's marked that, they need to be available and ready for questions once that vehicle is sold to that person. And that's not happening.
Okay, thank you. Captain Delaney?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Director Amano?
I guess, a point. This business was run not just as a local business that sold to the residents of Lawrence, but as an internet business, and where we have a different type of economy. So to be anywhere in Massachusetts as close as Burlington, it's very likely that the residents of Lawrence could purchase again from this license holder. So regardless of what the decision of the board is tonight, I just want to point out when things are delayed even a few days, I looked at some of the police reports. Officer Cano has a close working relationship with inspectional services, and our inspectors and Officer Cano spent a lot of time, a lot of resources from the city to mitigate these situations, to get refunds to take place, to communicate with the business owner. And $500, $1,000, $4,000 is a lot of money to the residents of the city of Lawrence. We face a lot of social determinants. So to hold up someone's money for days is a very big deal, which is why we probably have the laws that we do with posting a number that works and having someone present on site. So whatever the decision is of the board tonight. Irregardless of that, I just want to point out that these are serious issues that I hope that you take care of in your future businesses.
Thank you. Commissioner Darwin?
No questions.
Okay, the only, actually, it was more of a comment, even a question, is the sales after the suspension. It was clearly stated that day that the license was going to be suspended for, I believe it was 30 days. I'm not even sure what the date was. And then we had that meeting, and person came in, and they had their sale date. And that right there was violation of the suspension. You know, and that was just one of the issues, the other one being the odometer reading, second issue there. And it just seems like, as you're reading off, you have multiple complaints and police reports there. So, I mean, that's not the kind of business that we try in this city to establish. We want the city to be fair. I mean, we want the business to be fair with the citizens of the city of Lawrence, and that's all we look for. And in order for that to happen, this board has to maintain its integrity as far as, you know, we do the right thing, issue license with a suspension, you know, revocation. I know that he said he didn't have time for the last meeting, but it went out in a timely manner, and I know they go out in a timely manner because we check and we double check those, you know. And if he chooses not to show up for the meeting, whether it be through fault of his own or not, we set a date, we post it, he gets an email, he gets a phone call, everything goes out. And so, in a timely manner, and we expect business owners to be here.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just address the issue with the rogue car sale. That was from the gentleman that was working there. I don't think, he did it without Mr. Casamonte's knowledge. I know that for a fact. And I do have the email. I'm not sure if he got it, responded to whatever, but I can show you the United States Postal Service says 10/7 was the date of delivery on that notice. I have it right here. And the hearing was on 10/6, or he would have been here for sure. He's a responsible guy. He wants to do the right thing. He understands that he's not a good fit for Lawrence. All he wants to do is reinstate so we can sell cars in Massachusetts at some point.
Okay, and I'm gonna follow up on that. Whether we were to reinstate or not, we reinstate for the city of Lawrence. We don't reinstate for the state. And for us to even consider reissuing that license, I would think it'd be irresponsible of us to send that off to another city, whether it be close or as far away as Springfield. I think it would be unfair to do that to anybody, any citizen of this state or any other state. If you're running a business and you can't control who's selling the cars when they shouldn't be selling cars, then they have no business owning that establishment if you can't run it fairly.
I agree, and he's taking care of those issues. His only intention is to not have a revocation on his record when he reapplies somewhere else. That's all. He doesn't want to have that black mark and have those questions.
I understand that, but at this time, if the board will just satisfy me, and we're gonna continue with the revocation of the license, I don't feel that it would be in good standing to issue the license so he can go and operate somewhere else. Anyone have anything else to say on this?
No, I definitely agree with you, and I know there's some outstanding issues with the state police as well, that they're also investigating some matters in this in Divine Motors, so I think at this time, it would be a good decision for the board to stay that revocation.
Okay, so at this time, we are gonna stay the revocation of the license.
And what's his right of remedy as far as timeline to come back to the board?
You can appeal to the district court. The board is gonna stand by its decision at this point.
Okay, thank you. Let's go.
Okay, notice of hearing for Flow Lounge Bar and Grill located at 336 Common Street, for failure to provide reasonable cooperation to police officers and other authorized agents of the license board and the performance of their duties.
Good
Could you
afternoon,
just
Board.
state your name, please?
Jennifer Izegwe on behalf of my client, Jumana Gomez. She is the owner of Flow Lounge at 33 Common Street. First of all, thank you for having me today. We're here because of a notice that she received for failure to comply with the police. She's an owner of a business for 2 years. She's lost a lot of revenue due to COVID and being shut down for another 2 weeks because of the incident that happened. She was cited for failure to provide reasonable cooperation with the police. She had already been under probation. She was going to be under probation for time till March 2022. I did have an opportunity to speak with my client and review the police records. She was cited, she had only been open for 3 days. She was just starting to get her business up and running. She was trying to do everything that she could to maintain her clientele, which she had lost revenue and she had lost clients. When the incident happened, she didn't want to not cooperate with the police. That was not her intention at all. She's a business owner along with her husband who does the security management. She did not know that Mr. Lara was there. She had just arrived an hour prior and she was managing the operations in the front. She didn't know that he wasn't there. When the police arrived, she said to the police, it's not that I don't want to cooperate. What I am looking for, maybe one of you can go in, you guys can go see. I just don't want the lights to be on. It was 11 o'clock at night. That's prime time for her business. And she was just looking to recuperate the lost revenue that she had had. So she said, why don't you just go in one at a time? That is a reasonable compromise. They wouldn't do that. So she said, why don't you just come back at possibly 12:45. By that time, the lights are gonna be on and you can go in. The officers felt that that wasn't reasonable at that time. And I believe that in the report stated the officers called and they, for some reason, thought that Mr. Laura was in the building. They went in and they found him not in the actual lounge area, but they found him in the kitchen where my client had not been there because she was in the front area. They found him sitting in the kitchen. We understand if the board feels that, you know, it's reasonable for the sentencing to continue. All we ask for the board is that she is a business owner, she has lost a lot of revenue, and that we would ask that if a suspension is gonna happen, it happens after the holidays. She has a lot of people that are depending on her. This is a tough time in the economy. She's lost already a lot of clientele. She's lined up a lot of DJs, almost $20,000 that she would have to pay back. And essentially, closing before the holidays would just be bankruptcy for her. And for a lot of her employees that, you know, don't have other jobs in the holidays. So what we're asking you tonight is, if there is gonna be a suspension, please consider either reducing the suspension time or waiting until after the holidays to allow her to keep her business running, because it will end up in bankruptcy. She's, you know, she's very remorseful that the police felt that she wasn't being reasonable in her requests. Like I said, she did try, maybe one go in, maybe come back. She felt that that was a reasonable response. And you know, who am I to say? Maybe that wasn't reasonable, but if you do not feel that way, we just ask that if you could please, just the suspension after the holidays. We don't want another business in the community to go in bankruptcy. So we understand, and you know, I hope that you take that under advisement.
Okay, thank you. Lieutenant Cirillo, if you can start.
Good evening again. Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, on September the 29th, this board took a vote on the incidents that occurred on July 20th, July 3rd, 2021, and July 6th, 2021. Part of the conditions of those incidents that took place, the board decided to suspend Flow Lounge for a period of 60 days, 30 of those days to be served, with the remainder, I believe, of the 30 to be suspended. The board voted unanimously to do that. The applicant, again, then appealed that or wanted to come back before the board. At that time, the board voted to reduce that suspension even further and allowed her to reopen with only serving 16 days. Part of the condition of that reduction was that she have an educational class with the members of the liaisons on the board, police, fire, and inspectional services. That was a condition of the reopening, which the board approved on October 15th, myself and the members of the liaisons on the board met with the applicant. We held a educational class on the rules, the regulations. We went over with Johanny and her staff. We specifically went over several cases and incidents that prior ownership had gotten themselves in trouble for. We went over some things about cooperation with the police. We went over with the camera system. Again, every rule and regulation was covered. She signed this document stating that she understood the rules and regulations. And we allowed them to reopen on the 15th. On the 17th, Officer Botero responded to Flow Lounge for a incident that occurred at 5 William Street. I can read her report into the record, but she's also here. If the board would rather her read it into record, it's totally up to the board.
If we can get the officer to come up and read that report, if we can just let the officer step to the podium.
Absolutely.
Again, this is Officer Botero, and she responded to this incident.
Good evening. May I take my mask off? Thank you so much. I, Jessica Botero of the Lawrence Police Department, report the following. On Sunday, October 17, 2021, I was working my 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. shift in uniform patrol. I was assigned to marked cruiser 408 at City Rover. At approximately 11:11 p.m., I was informed by dispatch of a walk-in report for a domestic past at the police department. At the police department, I spoke to a female later identified as Santa Angela Ubri Familia. I immediately noticed that Ms. Ubri had scratches on her left forearm, a red mark on her right eye, right face, and red marks on her neck. I asked Ms. Ubri what happened. Ms. Ubri stated that her boyfriend of 6 months, Edward Alberto Lara, physically assaulted her. Ms. Ubri stated that Lara slept out of the house and walked in at approximately 7:30 a.m. on today's date, which at that time was 10/17/2021. Ms. Ubri stated that she went to work earlier that day and returned at approximately 5 p.m. At this time, she noticed that Lara was getting ready to go to work in his security job at Flow Lounge. Ms. Ubri approached Lara in their bedroom and told him that if he wanted to be with her, he can't sleep out of the house. Out of their home. Ms. Ubri informed him that she found him to be disrespectful and that she should not be taken as a joke. Ms. Ubri stated that her statements angered Lara and he immediately reacted. According to Ms. Ubri, Lara slapped her on the right side of the face, grabbed her with both hands by her throat, and slammed her on the bed. Ms. Ubri stated that during the strangulation, Lara told her to leave him alone and proceeded to yell, "Do you want me to hurt you?" in Spanish. Ms. Ubri stated that she was unable to respond because she was having difficulty breathing and that she attempted to bite Lara in the attempt of getting him off her. Ms. Lara then grabbed her arms and twisted her left arm. Ms. Ubri stated that she then kicked him with her legs and he let her go and told her to do whatever she wanted and proceeded to leave to work. I completed the strangulation form. Ms. Ubri declined completing the DLX report. I asked Ms. Ubri if she wanted to receive medical attention, to which she declined and stated she just wanted to go home. I advised Ms. Ubri of her 209 rights. I provided Ms. Ubri with a Spanish translated pamphlet providing pertinent information of services available to victims of domestic violence. I then proceeded to make my way to Flow Lounge, located at 336 Common Street in Lawrence, Mass., in the attempt of locating Lara at his place of work. Officer Torres and Officer M. Abreu assisted me. Officer Torres waited in the rear of Flow Lounge, where we located a back door. Officer M. Abreu and myself spoke to the owner in the front, Johanny E. Gomez. I asked Gomez if Edward Alberto Lara was in the lounge, to which she stated he was not there and that he had not been to work in approximately 2 days. I asked Gomez if we could look to see if he was there, as we were informed that he had made his way to work. Gomez became uncooperative and stated she was not going to turn the lights on and did not want us to go inside of her lounge. Gomez continued to state that she had not spoken to Lara and that she did not know where Lara was. Gomez then stated that we could return at 12:45 a.m. when the lounge and club was clear. At this time, I called Sergeant Papora and informed him that the club lounge owner was being uncooperative. Shortly after, Sergeant Papora and Officer C. Bussey arrived on scene to assist. I called Laura from a private number in the attempt of contacting him. Laura picked up, and I immediately recognized the same music from the lounge club in the background. I then informed Sergeant Papora, Officer Bussy, and Abreu, and myself made our way inside of the club. Gomez approached us and attempted to stop us from coming in. Officer C. Bussy and Sergeant Papora located Laura in the kitchen of the lounge club. I escorted Laura out of the club. Officer M. Abreu placed handcuffs on Laura, which were double locked, and checked for tightness. I placed Laura in the rear of my marked Cruiser 408 and transported him to the Lawrence Police Department, where he was booked and afforded all of his prisoner rights. It should be noted that when I informed Laura of the charges against him, he spontaneously uttered that Ms. Ubre's wounds were self-inflicted. Laura spontaneously uttered that Ms. Ubre had hit him on his left arm. There was no apparent marks on Laura. I will be charging Laura with the following: A and B on a household member and intimate partner, strangulation and suffocation, and A and B on a victim of 60 and plus. I will be forwarding this report to Lieutenant J. Cerula for the following, for Johanny Gomez's attempt to interfere with the investigation. I did also write a supplemental report, if you don't mind me reading that as well. I, Officer Jessica Botero of the Lawrence Police Department, report the following. On Monday, October 18, 2021, at approximately 12:10 a.m., I was continuing an investigation regarding a domestic violence that was reported on 10/17/2021. At approximately 11:11 p.m., that's when the time that it was reported. Along with assisting officers, I made my way to Flow Lounge, located at 336 Common Street, in the attempt of locating the suspect, Laura. According to the reporting party, Laura left to work after the incident occurred. Once myself and assisting officers arrived to Flow Lounge, I spoke to the owner, Johanny Gomez. I informed Gomez I was looking for one of her employee, Edward Alberto Lara, who worked for security guard. I proceeded to ask Johanny Gomez if Laura was in the lounge. Gomez stated Laura has not been into work in approximately 2 days. I then asked Gomez if we could look inside her lounge to see if Laura was there, as we were informed that he had made his way to work. Gomez became uncooperative, stated that she was not going to turn the lights on, and she continued to state that she did not want us to go into her lounge. Gomez continued to state that she had not spoken to Laura and that she was unaware of where he was. Gomez then stated we could return at 12:45 when the lounge was clear. After multiple attempts of gaining the owner, Gomez's cooperation, I had called Sergeant Papora. Sergeant Papora arrived, and I dialed Laura's phone number from a private number and identified the same music in the background as the music in the lounge. Sergeant Papora and assisting officers and myself made entry into the lounge. At this time, Gomez approached us and attempted to stop us from coming in. It should be noted that one of the assisting officers located Laura in the kitchen of Gomez's establishment, Flow Lounge. Gomez's continuous attempts to stop police officers from entering her establishment during a criminal investigation was a deliberate act to protect the defendant. Gomez misled police officers by stating that that Laura had not been into work in 2 days. Gomez also stated that she was unaware of Laura's whereabouts. Gomez's actions interfered and hindered my investigation and my process of bringing the defendant, Laura, into custody. Gomez's actions were also in violation of Massachusetts General Law 268-13B, obstruction of justice. Gomez's actions were additionally in violation of the Lawrence Licensing Board rules and regulations regarding liquor establishments. After further investigation and communication with Lieutenant J. Cerullo, we were in agreement that additional charges should be pursued in regards to this incident. I will be charging Johanny Gomez with the following: 268-13B, obstruction of justice.
Thank you, Officer Botero. Lieutenant Cirillo?
No, I don't have any questions.
Captain Delaney?
Nothing at this time.
Director Amano?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Darwin?
No questions.
Okay, Officer Botero, if you can just stay in the building in case we do have any follow-up questions.
Of course.
Okay, great, thank you.
May I ask a follow-up question to the officer, if that's okay?
You can ask through Lieutenant Cirillo.
Of course, thank you. Lieutenant Cirillo, isn't it true that Ms. Gomez offered for at least one officer to enter the premise?
I would have to get Officer Botero.
Officer Botero? Yes. There was a question stated, a question from the attorney.
Isn't it true that Ms. Gomez offered for at least one officer to go into the premise?
Yes, she did, but due to the nature of the crime, it was a crime that involved domestic violence. We did not feel it was safe for just one officer to go while there were multiple staff members and also a club full of people.
Thank you.
That's all, thank you.
Okay, Lieutenant?
And again, just to follow up on that, you know, when we're dealing with a serious incident, domestic or otherwise, it's just not safe for one officer to go in. And it's really not the owner of the establishment's decision. The decision is to cooperate fully, whether it's one officer or 8 officers. Again, that's clearly stated in the rules and regulations. Under General Rule B, Safety Rule 8, it says that reasonable cooperation, you know, cooperation needs to be given to not only the Lawrence Police Department, Lawrence Fire Inspectional Services, but to anybody that's a liaison to this board or the board itself.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant. Captain Delaney?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Director Amano?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Darwin?
I just also would note what Lieutenant Cirillo said, and she had signed that document 2 days prior to this event, stating that she understood about many items, including cooperation with the police.
Okay, thank you. One of the things I wanted to actually bring back up was how we had reduced her suspension. Original suspension was 60 days. We reduced it to 30 days to be served probation for 6 months. They came in under appeal. We reduced that from 30 to the 16 days served. The remainder to remain on probation for 6 months till March 29, whatever it was, I'm not sure what the date was, under the condition that she would have some informational classes with the police and fire department as to how to conduct her business and what's accessible. And one of the things we mentioned was video and access. And Lieutenant Cirillo said that they did that, and that was prior to the incident on that date. That I'm not sure what the date was as well.
The 15th was the educational class. We allowed them to reopen on the 15th, and then the incident was on the 17th or the 18th.
So that was a total of 3 days after we had reduced the original sentence. I find it hard to believe that you can come up with a mistake like that and not allow the police, and to ask them to come back at a later time. And that is, I think that she understands that when we walk in there, you have to allow access to any one of us, you know, whether it be us as the license board or the police or fire, whoever it is. She has to allow that access, and she refused to do that at that time. Whether she knew that the person was in there or not is regardless. The fact that she refused entry to the police department, that's a clear violation of anything that we have to, anything to do with holding a license in the city of Lawrence. So that in itself is a very big violation. I'll look towards Lieutenant Cirillo. I know what my recommendation would be on this. I want to see what the police department has to say on this as far as a recommendation.
To be quite honest with you, Commissioner, I'm at a loss for words. I mean, I really thought that on the 15th, we were in a good place. We went over all the rules, all the regulations. You know, we spent probably almost 2 hours with the owner, at least an hour and a half, and went through everything. And again, to be back in the position 2 days later, again, I don't know what more we can do besides the board being there running the business. I'm really not sure. So again, I really don't have a recommendation for you. I would leave it up to the board to decide.
Okay, just one other thing that, for the record, I did state to her when we reduced her sentence to 16 days, that if we did see her here within that 60-day period that I was gonna look to revoke her license. And here we are, and I think this is a far more serious situation than it was the first time around. So my recommendation from the board is gonna be a recommendation that we impose a revocation of her license to operate a liquor establishment and included with a common vic license, effective immediately.
I will make that in the form of a motion to revoke the license and common vic effective immediately.
And I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call. Commissioner Darwin?
Yes.
And the chair says yes as well. So as of, it's 7:15, we will be in there between 7:30 and 8 o'clock to revoke the license and close down the business. If that's all right, Lieutenant Sorrell?
Yep.
So you have enough time to go and inform your employees and cash out, and then we will be going down there to make sure that the business is closed. As of right now, you have a right to appeal through the Abcc or any other form that you would like through the court system. But as of effective immediately, the business is closed as far as this board is concerned.
Thank you, Board. Thank you. Good evening.
Okay, we have to get a date for the next meeting. And that would be the 24th. Oh, actually, yeah, that might not be a good idea, the day before Thanksgiving. Would we be able to do the 22nd, Monday? Okay, so let's schedule this for the 22nd then, same time, 6 o'clock, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.